cruelest thing a girl has ever put you through? My name's Ethan, and this is the story of how I made a complete fool of myself over a girl named Sarah during high school. It's not a fairy tale or some dramatic movie script, just a messy, awkward slice of my life that still stings when I think about it. Back in my freshman year at Lincoln High, I first noticed Sarah. She was in my English class, always sitting a few rows ahead, her dark hair tied up in a messy bun. She had this laugh that carried across the room, loud and unapologetic, and I'd catch myself staring whenever she spoke up in class. She wasn't the most popular girl or anything, but to me, she was magnetic. Problem was I was painfully shy. I clam up just thinking about talking to her. I'd spend whole class periods rehearsing what I'd say if I ever got the guts, but it never happened. I was just a quiet, chubby kid who blended into the background. Halfway through sophomore year, my family moved out of state because of my dad's job. It was a rough year in a new place, new school, new everything. But even with all that distance, I couldn't shake Sarah from my mind. I'd think about her laugh, the way she'd doodle on her notebook during class, or how she'd argue with the teacher about some random book we were reading. It was stupid, but those little memories stuck with me. When we moved back before junior year, I was stoked. Same town, same school, maybe a second chance. I figured if I still had it this bad for Sarah after a whole year away, it had to mean something, right? I wasn't the same shy kid anymore. Well, I was still shy, but I was determined to do something about it this time. No more sitting on the sidelines. I spent days thinking about how to tell her how I felt. Talking to her face to face was out of the question. I'd probably trip over my words and die of embarrassment. So I decided to write her a letter. Yeah, old school, I know, but it felt like the only way I could get everything out without screwing it up. I poured my heart into that thing. I wrote about how I'd liked her since freshman year, how I'd noticed all these little things about her, like how she always wore mismatched socks, or how she'd hummed to herself when she thought no one was listening. I told her I'd been too scared to say anything before, but didn't want to miss my chance again. It was probably way too long, like 3 pages, but it felt honest. I even put my phone number at the end, hoping she'd reach out. To make it a big gesture, I saved up for my part-time job at the local pizza place and bought a dozen red roses to send with the letter. I dropped the whole package off at her house through a felt like that, she said, laughing a little. It's really sweet. She wanted to meet up and talk in person. I was over the moon, but trying to play it cool. I told her I worked at Tony's Pizza most evenings, and she could stop by any time. It felt safer meeting there, like having home field advantage or something. The next night, I was at work, wiping down counters and trying not to overthink it. I told myself not to get my hopes up, but deep down, I was imagining this whole scenario where we'd hit it off, maybe go on a date, maybe more. I was nervous as hell, but excited too. Then, around 7 p.m., I saw her walk in. She was with 3 other girls, all giggling and whispering as they pushed through the door. My heart jumped in my throat. She looked even better than I. Remembered, same messy bun, same easy smile. I waved from behind the counter, trying to act normal. But as soon as her friend saw me, everything changed. One of them whispered something, and they all burst out laughing. Not like a friendly laugh, more like a mean, gut punch kind of laugh. Sarah's face froze for a second. Then she laughed too, though it looked forced. Before I could even say hi, they turned around and walked right back out the door. Not a single word, just laughter echoing as the door swung shut behind them. I stood there, frozen, the pizza cutter still in my hand. The other guy working the counter mic gave me a look like, what the hell was that? I mumbled something about it being nothing and went back to cleaning, but inside I was crumbling. I felt like the biggest loser on the planet. All that time, all that effort, the letter, the roses, the courage it took to put myself out there. And they just laughed in my face. I kept replaying it in my head, wondering what I'd done wrong. Was it because I was overweight? Because I wasn't cool enough? I didn't know, but it hurt like hell. Looking back, I'm still mad about it. Not just at Sarah and her friends, but at myself for thinking it could have gone any other way. High school's brutal.